This is the dash bezel from a 9th generation Ford F-Series pickup truck. This particular one is out of my personal vehicle, which was a 1996 F-150. It's just a plain Jane 6-cylinder 5-speed gas truck. You'll notice on this one the rectangular area to the right of the instrument cluster has been modified. The previous owner cut that area out with a pocket knife and put a watch head in there so he would have a clock as he drove down the road. I took the clock out and I drove around for years with a gaping hole there, and then finally I had the idea to put something useful in its place. What I did was cut the opening out as clean as I could, and I mounted 3 digital gauges in the space there. This version of gauges measures voltage, oil pressure, and water temperature from left to right. There's the gauge powered up. The gauge set is being powered by a little wall transformer that obviously doesn't put out enough power. You see there on the left it reads 8.7, 8.8 volts, which is barely enough to run that gauge. In the middle I have a static setting of 51 that represents oil pressure, and then to the right of that is the actual ambient air temperature, 88 degrees. There's a few features on it, such as a dimmer when you turn your headlights on, which I'll illustrate here. That simulates as if the vehicle's headlights are on and dims the gauge down to a reasonable level. That level is adjustable by a dial on the back of the gauge set. There is also an automatic dimming feature which monitors the ambient light inside the cab of the truck and will dim the gauges if the light level drops below a certain point. I'm going to demonstrate that by turning off my shop lights to see if I can get it dark enough in here to activate it. Well, not quite dark enough, but if you pardon my hand for just a second. There we go, dimmed down just like that. Now watch when I turn the lights back on in the shop, it'll brighten back up. The first version of the gauge set didn't have that feature, and I found when I got in the truck in the morning and first turned the ignition on, I would get blinded by that display. It needs to be that bright so you can read it in the daytime. Here's a close-up of the front of the gauge. You can clearly see the gauge labels below each gauge. I know some of you guys out there with the diesel trucks don't want to give up your warning lights, so I got a little treat. I've built the warning lights into the set for you. All you need to do is simply unplug the factory warning light module and plug that same connector into the back of the circuit board. Here's the triple set securely mounted to the back of the bezel. You can see the mounting screws here, here, and here. And again, the holes and mounting platforms are there from the factory. All that you have to do is simply rest it on the post and put the screws in. Here we have the sensor connectors here, here, and on some versions here. Power connector here, it supplies power to the board. On models equipped with the diesel warning lights such as water in fuel and wait to start, there would be another connector right here. That connector would allow the factory warning light module to plug directly into the board. Here's a close-up of the front side of the gauge package. Gauge A, Gauge B, and Gauge C. This particular set is configured to read voltage, oil pressure, and water temperature. The F-Series triple set can be set up in a few different versions. Any version is available in red, green, or blue LEDs. The triple set is divided into 3 sections. Section A on the left, Section B in the middle, and Section C on the right. Section A can be a voltage gauge, or it can be a gauge to read any pressure up to 5,000 psi. Section B can also be configured as a pressure gauge for any pressure up to 5,000 psi, or it can be configured to read exhaust gas temperature. And finally, Gauge C can be set up to read any temperature up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, diesel warning lamps are available on any version. The price of the F-Series triple set varies depending on which version is ordered. Please feel free to contact me for a price quote. Each gauge package includes all the hardware and wiring to complete the installation. This gauge set does not rely on the factory sensors and includes its own sensors. They can be installed with the original factory sensors, which will allow the factory instrument cluster to work as normal. If you have any questions about the F-Series triple set or any of my other products, please feel free to leave a comment or contact me through my Facebook page. I'll have a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video useful, please hit the like button and the subscribe button.